All right. Hey, future civil servants. Ready for a deep dive into today's current affairs? January 9th, 2025. It's a lot to keep up with, I know, especially when you're busy prepping for the UPSC exam.
It's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes, isn't it?
Exactly. But don't worry, that's what we're here for. We're going to break down the most important news, go beyond the headlines, and really analyze why these events matter for anyone aiming to ace that UPSC.
We'll be connecting the dots and giving you those insightful nuggets you won't find just skimming the headlines.
Exactly. Okay, let's jump right in. First up, AI governance in India. Now, you might have heard that the Principal Scientific Advisors team is already working on AI guidelines for India.
Yeah, they are.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. It shows how seriously India is taking this whole AI thing.
It's a big signal, especially for anyone aiming for those top government positions.
Right, because it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the implications, the governance, the whole ethical landscape.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how India is proactively shaping that landscape, recognizing AI's potential impact on everything, from national security to social justice.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And they've released a report flagging some critical issues, things like deepfakes. I mean, those videos that can make anyone say or do anything.
Right.
Which could be a huge problem with all this misinformation flying around.
Yeah.
Then there are the cybersecurity threats, how AI can be used for, well, malicious purposes.
Yeah, then intellectual property rights questions. When AI starts creating things, who owns what? It gets complicated.
It does. And then, of course, the potential for bias.
Right, absolutely. If the data used to train these AI systems is biased, the outcomes will be biased too. And that raises all sorts of ethical questions about fairness and accountability. Really important stuff for any future policymaker to grasp.
Absolutely. Okay, so how is India tackling all of this? What are they actually doing?
Well, the report recommends some concrete steps, like setting up an interministerial AI coordination committee and a technical secretariat to oversee AI development and deployment. That kind of specific recommendation, that's prime UPSC question material.
Oh, yeah, definitely jot that down. So it's not just about understanding AI, it's about knowing how India is governing it.
Precisely. And this all links back to the India AI mission, this massive initiative with a budget exceeding 10,000 crore rupees. 7 pillars focusing on different aspects of AI. From research and development to ethical considerations and workforce development, it's a comprehensive approach, and understanding its nuances is crucial.
Okay, so from AI, let's shift gears a bit, though. Something a bit more, well, chilling, I guess. The polar vortex has been making headlines, bringing record-breaking cold to the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, crazy weather, right?
It is. But, understanding the polar vortex, particularly how it influences global weather patterns, it's really relevant for anyone studying climate and geography. And that, as you know, is a significant part of the UPSC syllabus.
Oh, absolutely. It might seem like a distant phenomenon, but it's not like weather stays confined to one continent.
Exactly. So break it down for us. What exactly ISS this polar vortex, and why should a UPSC aspirant care?
Okay, so the polar vortex, basically it's this large area of low pressure and super cold air that swirls around the Earth's poles. There are actually 2 types. The tropospheric one, closer to the Earth's surface, and then the stratospheric one, higher up in the atmosphere. The tropospheric one is what's been causing all this extreme cold in North America.
Okay, 2 types. Got it. But how does this affect India? Thousands of miles away.
Well, a weakened polar vortex can really disrupt the jet stream, and that can impact monsoon patterns in India. We could see more western disturbances, heavier snowfall in the Himalayas, potentially affecting water resources, agriculture in the region. It's all connected.
So even though it's happening so far away, the polar vortex has implications for India's climate, agriculture, even disaster preparedness.
Exactly. It highlights how important it is to have that global perspective, understanding how everything's interconnected.
Right, right. Okay, let's move on to something a bit more positive, shall we? Some good news from the world of science. Remember those amazing coral reefs, the underwater cities teeming with life? Well, the Great Barrier Reef just welcomed its first cryo-born baby corals.
It's a pretty big deal, especially considering all the threats coral reefs face these days. Climate change, pollution.
It is big news. But for those who might be a bit confused, break down this cryo-born coral thing for us. What does it even mean?
So cryopreservation, basically it involves freezing coral cells and tissues. They use something called cryoprotectants to prevent damage during the freezing and thawing process. And these frozen cells, they can be used to grow new corals.
Wow, so you're basically hitting a pause button on their genetic information.
Exactly. And that's huge for conservation. It's a tool for preserving biodiversity, combating climate change effects on marine ecosystems. Imagine being able to repopulate damaged reefs, even selectively breed corals that can withstand warmer waters.
It's incredible, really. And it's not just Australia leading the way in coral conservation, is it?
Nope, not at all. India's been making some impressive strides, too. We have our own initiatives, like the National Committee on Wetlands, Mangroves, and Coral Reefs. They advise the government on conservation strategies.
I see.
And the Zoological Survey of India has even used techniques like biorock to restore coral reefs in the Gulf of Mannar and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So yeah, it's a global effort, but India is definitely stepping up.
That's great to hear.
Okay.
Okay, let's switch gears again, this time to internal security. The CBI just launched this new platform called BHARATPOL, all about boosting international crime control.
Yeah, it's like India's direct line to Interpol, a way to really streamline communication and cooperation between law enforcement agencies worldwide.
So India's taking a more active role in global crime fighting now.
You could say that.
Yeah.
BHARATPOL has 5 key modules focusing on things like sharing information about wanted criminals, issuing international alerts, accessing resources and expertise from other countries.
Okay, so all about sharing information, working together to tackle those crimes that cross borders.
Exactly. And this is particularly relevant, for you as UPSC aspirants. It shows India's commitment to global cooperation in law enforcement, a proactive approach to tackling transnational crime, which is a growing concern, honestly.
Right. And speaking of Interpol, just a quick refresher for our listeners. It has 196 member countries, headquarters in Lyon, France. They issue those red notices, which are basically like international arrest warrants, right?
Yep. And they maintain these huge databases on criminal activity, all kinds of stuff. It's a powerful tool for international cooperation, understanding how it works, its reach, its limitations. That's valuable knowledge for any future civil servant.
For sure. Okay, now let's talk about something that's fundamental to good governance, the Right to Information Act. The RTI. The Supreme Court just issued some directives to make sure it's actually effective.
Yeah, they're concerned about the huge backlog of cases, the delays in filling vacancies in the Central and State Information Commissions, the bodies that handle RTI requests. It's a big problem.
It is. Think about it. In West Bengal alone, there's a backlog of 24 years. 24 years. Can you imagine waiting that long for information you have a right to access? It's crippling the system.
It is. It's making it so hard for citizens to hold the government accountable. And that undermines the whole purpose of the RTI Act, transparency.
Right, right. So what can be done about it? What did the Supreme Court say?
Well, they stress the urgency of filling these vacancies and ensuring diversity in appointments, too. They want to see representation from all sorts of backgrounds, not just bureaucrats.
Interesting.
It reflects this broader push for inclusivity, diverse perspectives, and governance.
I see. Okay, let's do a rapid-fire round. We've got a bunch of headlines to cover. We want to give you those quick insights that can really boost your UPSC prep. First up, a major earthquake, magnitude 7.1, hit the Himalayan region of Tibet.
Wow.
Yeah, a big one. And it just underscores the fact that the Himalayas are incredibly seismically active. The Indian plate constantly pushing against the Eurasian plate, creating all this pressure that gets released through earthquakes.
Yeah, a stark reminder of the power of nature and the importance of disaster preparedness in a region that's just so prone to these events.
Absolutely. And the consequences can be devastating. Landslides, avalanches, flash floods. It's like a chain reaction.
Exactly. And understanding the geology of the Himalayas, the active fault lines, the potential risks, that's crucial, not just for disaster management, but also for infrastructure development, urban planning in the region.
Okay, moving on. India's coastline just got a whole lot longer, at least officially.
Really?
Yep, it's been redefined, and the official length has increased by a whopping 48%.
48%? What happened?
They're using a new methodology that takes into account all those intricate details of our coastline, all the bays, estuaries, inlets. It's not just about drawing a straight line anymore. We're getting more precise.
Huh. So it's not like new land magically appeared.
No, it's about having that accurate data to make informed decisions. Resource management, environmental protection, maritime security, even territorial claims. It matters.
Right. Precision matters. Okay, what else do we have?
Let's talk about the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, the ITBP. They've been busy relocating border posts, 33 of them closer to the line of actual control with China.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and this is all happening against the backdrop of those ongoing tensions, along the India-China border. Remember, the ITBP, they're responsible for guarding a massive 3,488 kilometers of this incredibly sensitive terrain.
Their motto, Shaurya Jodhata Karmanishta, which means valor, steadfastness, and devotion to duty, pretty much sums up their role.
It does. Understanding their challenges, the geographical complexities of that terrain, the geopolitical implications of their actions, it's crucial for anyone aspiring to a career in diplomacy or security.
Absolutely. Knowing the facts is one thing, understanding the context is another.
Exactly. Okay, quick trip over to Africa. John Mahama has just been sworn in as the president of Ghana for a third term.
Interesting. A third term.
It is. And just a reminder for everyone, where exactly is Ghana? Geography can be tricky.
So Ghana, formerly the Gold Coast, is situated on the western coast of Africa, bordering the Gulf of Guinea, known for its gold and cocoa production. And politically, it's pretty stable, a key player in West African affairs.
Okay, good to know. Those geographical details are always good to have in your back pocket for the UPSC, right?
Absolutely. Location, neighboring countries, key features of a country that's in the news, it's essential. It shows a deeper understanding of global affairs.
Okay, back to India now. There's a big push for inclusivity with the e-Shram portal going multilingual.
Oh, that's great.
It is. The e-Shram portal, remember, it's designed to register unorganized workers. And now it's available in multiple languages thanks to the Bhashini project.
Okay, for those who haven't heard of it, what exactly is the Bhashini project?
So it's an initiative by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. They're using AI-powered translation tools to make digital content accessible in all 22 scheduled languages of India.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is. But it's about bridging the digital divide, making sure everyone has access to government services and information, regardless of their language.
It's a game changer, especially for those in remote areas. Imagine a construction worker in a village can now access government schemes and benefits in their own language. That's powerful.
It is. Okay, let's talk infrastructure. Big news. The government just announced major plans to boost capacity at Kandla Port in Gujarat.
Makes sense. Kandla is already India's second largest port, right? Handles a massive amount of trade. It's a major economic hub.
It is. And for those who love a bit of history, Kandla was actually built in the 1950s to replace the Karachi port, which we lost after partition. Officially, it's known as Deen Dayal Port.
Ah, the historical context. You gotta love it.
We do. And speaking of growth, exciting news in the renewable energy sector. The Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, GEAPP, has partnered with the International Solar Alliance, the ISA, to create a $100 million fund for solar energy projects.
That's huge.
It is. It highlights the global push for clean energy and sustainable development. Now, quick recap. What are GAPP and ISA all about?
Okay, so GAPP, it's this global initiative focused on energy access, green jobs, reducing emissions, especially in developing countries. The ISA, launched by India and France, is all about promoting solar energy worldwide. So their collaboration, it's a powerful synergy, could really accelerate that transition to clean energy.
It's a win-win for the environment and the economy. Now let's head down south. Karnataka has launched this new initiative called Garudakshi.
Garudakshi. Okay, tell me more.
So it's an online FIR system specifically for reporting wildlife crimes. Pretty innovative.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of going to a police station, people can report offenses using their mobile phones, their email addresses.
Exactly. It's a collaboration between the Karnataka Forest Department and the Wildlife Trust of India. Makes it so much easier to report and track wildlife crimes, which honestly are often underreported.
Yeah, technology can really be a game changer for conservation.
It can. Okay, and finally, we're ending on a high note with an impressive feat of engineering. India just completed its first cable-stayed rail bridge, the Anji Khad Bridge in Jammu and Kashmir.
Wow, a cable-stayed rail bridge.
Yep. Tell us a bit about it. What makes it so special?
Well, it spans 725.5 meters and stands 331 meters above the Anji River. It's a testament to India's engineering capabilities, its commitment to infrastructure, and it'll connect Tatra, the base camp for pilgrims visiting the Vaishno Devi Shrine, to the Kashmir Valley. Boost tourism, economic activity in the region. It's not just a bridge, it's a symbol of progress and connectivity in a region that often faces, logistical challenges.
It's about overcoming obstacles, building a better future. And you know what? It's a perfect metaphor for the journey of a UPSC aspirant, isn't it? Facing challenges head-on, striving for excellence, and ultimately contributing to nation building.
It's really remarkable, how all these seemingly separate events, they actually connect to form this broader narrative of India's evolving role on the global stage. It's fascinating.
It is. We've covered so much ground already, from AI governance to chilling polar vortexes, from coral reefs to cable-stayed bridges. It's like a whirlwind tour of current affairs.
It is, a bit, but it's all relevant,
Yeah.
right? Especially for the UPSC exam.
Absolutely. It's about understanding how these events and issues are all interconnected, how they impact India's policy decisions, domestically and internationally.
Right, exactly.
So let's break it down for our listeners who are busy prepping for the UPSC. What are the key takeaways from today's news, the things they absolutely cannot miss?
Okay, well, first and foremost, pay attention to government initiatives and policies, especially those related to technology, security, infrastructure. We saw this with AI governance, the BHARATPOL initiative, the Kandla Port expansion.
You're right.
These are all areas where India is actively shaping its future, and understanding these developments is crucial.
It's not just about knowing what the policies are, but understanding why they're being implemented, what their potential impact could be.
Exactly. Now, second takeaway. Don't underestimate the importance of geography and environmental science. The earthquake in the Himalayas, the polar vortex, the coral reef breakthrough.
Yeah.
They all highlight how interconnected our planet's systems are, how natural phenomena can have these far-reaching consequences.
It's about seeing that bigger picture, recognizing those cause and effect relationships, understanding how they might influence policy decisions. For example, knowing about the potential impact of the polar vortex on the Indian monsoon, that could be super valuable for framing answers related to agriculture, water resources, even disaster management.
Exactly, exactly. And finally, remember that global perspective is essential. We saw this with Interpol, the International Solar Alliance, even the news from Ghana.
Got it.
India is increasingly engaging with the world, understanding its role in international organizations, partnerships, global challenges. It's crucial.
It's about seeing India not in isolation, but as this active player on the world stage.
Precisely. Now, instead of doing a separate rapid-fire round, I think it would be more helpful to kind of weave those remaining headlines into our discussion. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. What do you have in mind?
Okay, let's start with the e-Shram portal going multilingual. This is a great example of how technology can be used to promote inclusivity, bridge that digital divide.
It's about making government services accessible to everyone, regardless of language, location. And it shows how India is leveraging its technological prowess to address social challenges.
Exactly. Now, connecting this back to our earlier discussion on infrastructure, the Kandla Port expansion is another significant development. Remember, it's India's second largest port, and this expansion will boost its capacity even further, handle more trade, contribute to economic growth.
Yeah, and it's interesting to remember the historical context too, right? How it was built as a replacement for the Karachi port after partition. It's a reminder of those historical forces that have shaped India's infrastructure, its trade routes.
It is. Now, let's shift our focus a bit to sustainable development. The $100 million fund created by GEAPP and ISA for solar energy projects, this is a major step. It's a testament to India's leadership in the renewable energy sector.
And it showcases the importance of international collaboration in tackling these global challenges, like climate change. Remember, GEAPP focuses on energy access, creating green jobs. ISA is all about promoting solar energy. So their partnership, it's a perfect example of how global efforts can align with India's own development priorities.
Absolutely. Now let's zoom in on an example of how technology is being used for conservation. Karnataka's Garudakshi initiative, the online FIR system for reporting wildlife crimes. This is a great example of innovation in environmental protection.
Yeah, it's about empowering citizens to participate in those conservation efforts and ensuring law enforcement agencies have the tools they need to combat wildlife crime effectively.
Right, right. And finally, let's end on a note of inspiration, shall we? The completion of the Anji Khad Bridge. It's not just an engineering marvel, it's a symbol of progress. A reminder that even in challenging terrains like the Himalayas, connectivity and development are possible.
It's not just a bridge, it's a symbol of India's aspirations, its ability to overcome obstacles. And it highlights the importance of infrastructure development for boosting tourism and economic growth in a region that has so much potential. So there you have it, a deep dive into the most important current affairs of January 9th, 2025. We've covered a lot of ground. AI, climate change, international relations, infrastructure. Whew.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but I hope you're feeling a bit more prepared now, for your
Yeah.
UPSC exam.
Absolutely. Remember, it's all about connecting those dots, seeing the bigger picture, understanding the why behind the what.
It's not just about memorizing facts. It's about analyzing them, understanding their implications, seeing how they fit into India's journey on the world stage.
And as future policymakers, you need to develop that critical thinking, that ability to see how everything's interconnected, that strategic vision for India's future.
Exactly. So as you continue your UPSC prep, think about how today's news connects to these broader themes. How does technology shape governance? How do global events impact India?